We're live.
Right. Sorry about the little glitch on the I don't know, 40-minute mark or something. I think the computer was overloaded and we still just only setting up, getting to know our way around this live thing. So if you guys please recatch with us and let's continue this. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds just to rejoin if you are trying to get yourself resettled into it. I appreciate your patience and your understanding. Please come back to the thing, yeah? I'm going to try and pick up where we were in thoughts. Sometimes the thought is not even part of the notes I've put down, just so I can make sure I address everything, okay? Do you remember where I was, what I said last?
You
sure? You don't,
no,
right?
I don't.
You weren't listening, right? Okay. Right?
Kind of
Okay. All right. I might have been on the issue of about how our brothers in the States managed to corral us back into a different penfold, i.e., deception again, whereby we're now being told that only the Americas who came on slave boats, especially slave boats, and the falsehood, unverified claims that some of the 12 tribes already left. Some of the 12 tribes already left and departed for America via a land that no man had inhabited for any time before. It's unverified. I'm still waiting to take people with this debate. Okay, it would be good for our people to be set free. So if you're Nathaniel out there, GOCC, GMS, and all the other acronyms, reach out. Let's do this properly. Let the people hear it. Now you've been having debates with the Kemets and the Egyptologists and so on. Why don't you have a debate with an African Israelite on this side of the waters? For a change, okay? Let's get to this truth. So you've been told for so long that the Americans are the Hebrew Israelites and that Africans are Hamites and Hamites are Africans. You don't know the difference anyway. So 10 years ago, you didn't know the difference. And maybe now, some of the deceivers who've already done damage anyway, it's going to be hard for you to even look differently right now. They've already done damage. Now they're telling you, yeah, we're down in Ghana now, and we are edifying our people in Ghana. You're the teacher right now, right? Okay. So the Ghanaians are now being referred to as those we left behind in the west coast of Africa. Well, you can't really show me how that fits into Deuteronomy 28:68. Because I'm sure that boat ain't supposed to leave nobody behind, right? But for some reason, the boat did leave some people behind, and you came back and found them, right? So, but we've been saying that since 10 years ago. And only now are your elders starting to say, yeah, we got some brethren in Africa. Well, but hear what I'm saying. I'm letting you know the Africans are the real Israelites. You're the ones who went away. So you got to come back to Africa if you like it or not. I'm not saying Africa is the place we need to be finally. No. I'm saying that's where our people were for a good 1,400 years, right? 1,400 years is a long time to have a lot of babies. A long time. Some of our people actually were buried in that land, right? Every 70 or 60 years, our people get buried in the land of Africa. So our spirit still belongs there in many ways. But guess what? Africa is just it's a bastard word, isn't it? Africa don't mean nothing. Well, if you say Hamites, Ham, that means something. But you can't find the word Africa in the Bible, right? That's the biggest deception your teachers put on you by saying, you see, Ham is the father of Africans. But you can't find the word Africa in the Bible. So they deceived you because not everybody in so-called landmass of Africa is Hamites. I mean, when we were there for 1400 years, what did they call you in that 1400 years? Were you still called Hebrew Israelites? No, tell me. Tell me. No, you're looking at me right now. Tell me, what were you called whilst you were in that land for 1400 years? Did you still call yourself Hebrew Israelites? Well, you're going to need to show me quite a few things. What name did you call yourselves? In fact, show me, prove to me, because this is the only scholar, no scholar is going to come to try prove that. Prove to me you were even speaking the Hebrew, the so-called Hebrew language. You say is the Hebrew language that we spoke. Prove to me that we spoke that Hebrew language. Show me in documents. The cargo slave ship documents. We've got them right on the computer right now. Slave names, voyages, ships, destinations, embarkations. We can't see this Hebrew they've constructed for you. We can't see none of them Hebrew names. So if you were Hebrew Israelites, we need to see some of those names in those itineraries, right? Well, we can't. All we see from going to coming and returning is purely African names. African names. Names like Abu, Omar, Allah, Hakim. Just all African names. Baba. It's just African names. No, paste it up for me. Show me a name in the so-called Hebrew language that you are using to decipher your own history right now. You can't find one single shred of evidence for that. You'll find some different types of Hebrew languages, but you won't find this one you say you speak, which you're learning. And we'll move now to section 4. Section 4, it's all part of the intro. The Hebrew language that you speak today is just as constructed as America was constructed. America ain't no ancient nation. It's a constructed nation, right? A fusion of many peoples, right? Of Polish, of French, of English, of all types of people, right? Spanish, Portuguese. Well, the Hebrew language you're studying today that you are using to go into Strong's Concordance and start saying, we studied the Hebrew language. Guess what Hebrew language you're studying? You're studying the Hebrew language, those who carried us away in captivity, those who took our places in history. You're studying their Hebrew language. Your Hebrew language that you spoke as soon as you arrived in the west coast of Africa. Yeah, remember, your elders run to Africa. You run into the Atlas Mountain. What, like Usain Bolt? Or like Haile Gebre Selassie, the marathon runner? How do you actually run that run? Into the Atlas Mountains, into West Africa. Somebody gonna need to show me how they run that run. Because guess what? I actually trekked that trek. All right. I went from down West Africa all up into North Africa, into the Atlas Mountains. Yeah, I did that 25 years ago. And you can type it right now. People are still doing it right now. Just leave this thing and type it right now. From all over West Africa, people are still following the same routes. They don't run it. You can't run it. Let's just get back on point. The Hebrew language that you study today, that you use to go into the so-called books of our people, the Hebrew language that you use today is not the Hebrew language we spoke. Even you said, you know that yourself. There is no one language, i.e., not just one language, called the Hebrew language. Now, here's where you start to do a bit of research for yourself. I've made a few claims, and you need to write them down. Do not get emotional. This is very important for your soul and for our families and for our upliftment. I've made a few claims. Write down all the points, the claims yourself. The Hebrew language you're studying today is a false language. Because as you like to say, the people in that land today are a false people. I mean, come on. If there are false people in that land, what will their language also be? But go into the research, type it in there, Hebrew language. It lets you know. Go any source. We got books. We got books right there, okay? We got books hanging in the shelves right there. All right. And books in front of us, books upstairs. Okay? But type it right there and say Hebrew language. It lets you know, like you've heard in one of our videos already. Hebrew language is a group of Afro-Asiatic languages. It could be found in any one number of the countries across Africa and Asia. Anywhere you go and you see black people, especially non-white people, they're probably speaking Hebrew. Any variation of Hebrew is Hebrew, just like any variation of money is money. There is not only one standard of money, is there? If I said, oh, brother, I'm in Japan right now, I'm spending money. Oh, you're going to come at me and say, yeah, he's spending dollars. No, the money they got in Japan is still called money, but it's not the same as dollars. The same throughout the whole world. It's all called money. The same way the language is called Hebrew. The language Hebrew does not denote a language. It denotes a people. Any people who are Hebrews have their own language, which is now called the Hebrew language. I'll drop this in there for you quickly. There are Hebrew Israelites, and by history, fact, and truth, there are Hebrew Ishmaelites too. The same way they reconstructed the so-called Arabic language. They've made a standardization of Arabic language right now. They've called it Arabic language. Well, it's not an original language. The original people who were speaking what you could call Arabic languages, not the people speaking it today, are not the people teaching it today, are not the people who've compiled the Quran on their standardization of what they call Arabic language. The real Arabs. All history books let you know that. So, if you're in Islam, you've bought falsehood. You've bought falsehood. How? By believing that the Quran came down in perfect Arabic. Perfect Arabic? Listen to some of our lessons. The Bible too is now being seen through the eyes of perfect Hebrew. Perfect Hebrew? Neither of them two are what they claim to be. Yeah. You all know that. I mean, Revelation 9, Revelation 3 and 9. And guess what? Those two scriptures are not talking about the white Jews. Those two scriptures are talking about black Jews. Trust me. We'll explain to you why. Yes, it can also apply. It can also apply to the white Jews. But don't deceive yourself. Enough of that now. We are the real demons of our own nation. Because you're telling me that when our Messiah came, was it the white Jews he was having a problem with? Well, where were we? Was it the white Jews who went to slavery because they didn't listen? It was us, right? Well, why did we go into slavery and they didn't? We're the ones who did wrong, right? We're the ones who loved lies, right? We're the ones who fulfill all the other prophecies outside of Deuteronomy 28:68. There's like 1,000 other prophecies that we actually fulfill, still fulfilling. We don't need Deuteronomy 28:68 to tell us we're Hebrew Israelites. I'm going to stop there quickly. I've mentioned the fact that the Arabic language, the false Arabic language, the Hebrew language you're learning to interpret the Bible and scriptures is a false Hebrew language. Make those claims, write them down, let them be clear. Now, what's the point now that I want to move on from here to make? Is what was the intention of these two falsehoods? When we go into Psalms 83, right? Read Psalm 83 for us quickly and jump to it quickly.
83.
Yeah. Start. I think, yeah. Start from the start there, please.
Psalm 83.
Yeah, I hope it's about the right one, yeah?
Yep.
Right, go on.
Keep now silence.
Keep not thy silence.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, life, yeah, go on.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy peace.
And be not still, O yeah.
Be not still.
For lo,
Hello.
thine enemies make tumult.
Tumult. Yeah.
They that hate thee have lifted up the head.
They that hate thee have lifted up the head. Yeah, go on, you know.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones.
Read on.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation,
Read on.
that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Right. Okay, we're just going to stop there just for time, yes? That's the whole point. Why those who have now identities did what they did, just so we can be swept away. And they've done a good job, right? The real Ishmaelites have been swept away. There's a history of it in the middle, so-called Middle East, Arabia. We can show you that. We'll go into that. And the real Israelites have been also swept away. So the two of us could have backed up each other's history and each other's heritage, and even supported each other in the fight against those who have now assumed our identities. But behold and lo, what did they do? They made sure that they created false histories for us and created false languages for us. So that the Hebrew language we are now using, that our elders are taught to start reading so they can interpret the Bible, it's not Hebrew at all. You know that it's a mix of Yiddish and European, Khazarian, and so on and so forth. Yeah? And then they've done the same in the Arabic language too for the Quran. And everyone knows, any scholar just tells you that, look, these ain't original languages because these are not the original people. If they're not the original people, how can they have the original language? That's what's happening here. And they could only have played that game on our Western hemisphere, especially American brethren. I mean, you've got great scholars in that nation from time, but the ignorance was just too much because it's complete on our people. I mean, come on. Slaves lost their identity, lost their names, lost their language, lost their culture, lost their families, or given a new way of thinking, given a new religion. I mean, 400 years of being in a mental institution, and now you just, somebody like that's just going to wake up and say, I'm now going to tell you what the Bible is. How would you listen to somebody like that? You wouldn't. What would have impressed me would I would have seen people waking up where the original people are, where original people who speak original languages are. And where are those places? Go to the book of Esther for me quickly, please. Yeah. Let's have a look at where the real, let's have a look at where the real Israelites, some of the places they were scattered to in antiquity, right in the book, in the Bible. Read Esther from chapter 1, yeah? And just read chapter 1, verse 1. Ahasuerus. Yeah, Ahasuerus. Anyway.
Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus.
Yeah.
This Ahasuerus, which reigned.
He reigned
from India.
From where?
From India.
From America.
From India.
From Jamaica.
From India.
From the West Coast.
India.
From India. You know.
Even unto Ethiopia.
From where to where?
Ethiopia.
Jamaica.
Ethiopia.
Belize.
Ethiopia.
Venezuela.
Ethiopia.
Costa Rica.
Ethiopia.
He reigned from India all the way to Ethiopia. Now, when you've typed into Google and Google tells you that the Hebrew language is an Afro-Asiatic language, are we lying? It's right there. Afro-Asia is India, right? That's one of the highest civilizations, earliest civilizations, India. You just need to go there and look and say, boy, it must have taken them time to do all this stuff. At that time, they did everything they wanted to perfectly. Whatever it was they were doing, that's not the point right now. Then to Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia is where again?
In Africa.
It's in East Africa. So read the book of Esther, because you know the story of Mordecai and the Jews whom the king was being moved to destroy. But because of Mordecai, the Jews of India were saved. Of Asia, of Persia, throughout the whole, how many provinces? Read for me. How many provinces?
170.
127, I believe it was.
Over 107 and 20 provinces.
Over 127 provinces, all the way from India right into Ethiopia. Ethiopia was also called Egypt. Let's get some maps. Ethiopia is a Greek name, as is the word Egypt. The word Egypt you cannot find in the Old Testament unless it's inserted in there. The name Egypt isn't named after a person. The real people the place was named after is Mizraim. One of the children of Ham, right? So Egypt is just a new construct to disillusion us, to divert us from true meaning and true travel. Where was our sojourns? Did we visit Mizraim? Many a times. Mizraim is our brother. You can say all you want. We'll show you. But anyway, our people were living all the time in India and Ethiopia, i.e. Asia and Africa. So when you type into Wikipedia right now, and you can check, because we got books, you can check. Hebrew languages are Afro-Asiatic group of languages. The Bantu, the Shona, Swahili, even Hausa, Yoruba, Igbo, Ga, all the Ghanaian languages. West Africa, I mean, I could name names. I could just go on with names, but I'm going to leave one name out. People are going to, oh, he didn't mention my name, so I'll just hold it there for now. But a lot of Africa, besides obviously what we know was the invasion of the Ottoman Turks to rid the Black Ishmaelites and Black Israelites away from what you call Northern Mediterranean Africa. So we just don't find our way back into Europe anymore and into all the areas where we've lived, where we've laid foundations, where we've spoken any language that we like. Now, where are the two most populous places you can go and find the most numerous languages, or the people speaking the most numerous languages or dialects, or the most numerous people speaking a language? You can only go to India and Africa. Well, guess what? You would expect the so-called real Jews, real Hebrews, to speak quite a few languages, right? I mean, in their descendancies, because why? They lived in many different places, right? Yeah, but how many languages, I mean ancient languages, do the modern day Jews speak? They speak only modern day European languages. 500 years ago, English, Polish, these are not ancient languages. But go up into India, the Dravidians, the Guptas, the Rajs, Hindu, Gujarat, Pashtun. Pakistan, Israelites. India, many Israelites. Yes, we know this story. Afghanistan, Israelites. Many of the stands, Israelites. Iraq, Iran, yeah, Persians, but Israelites too in there. Then you come down into West Africa and the islands of the sea, Australia. What's the nation with our brothers in the oceans there? What's that nation called? New Zealand, is that Guinea? Where's that? Anyway, we'll break down the nations later. All the islands where you find black people. Close East Timor, where you find all our black people. Give me a second. Give me a second. We haven't slept for almost 24 hours. So excuse me if my brain is still fuzzy. We're talking of Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Japan. Japan. That's how far we go. We're going to go deep inside this thing. Now, brothers, you brothers and sisters in the Americas, you're not equipped for this thing. You're not equipped for this thing, for this knowledge that you're supposed to be teaching. You're equipped to learn it, to learn. You've been teaching for a while now, and guess what? You've reached your expiry date. You need now to be taught by Africans who know the score. We speak the languages. I do speak the languages, yeah. Hey, he was born in the language too. We've checked the name of the creator in several African languages. It's in the book. The name that the constructed Hebrew language gave you, the names that they gave you are lies. They're all lies. I mean, how can you use your European tongue to decipher an ancient Hebrew language? Even you think about that. Does it make sense to you? How can you use Europeans to be your teachers, to teach you about ancientness? It'd be like a bird trying to learn how to swim in the ocean, or a bird telling the fish how to live. Birds live in the sky. They don't know nothing about the water. I mean, they dive in once in a while, but that's not their habitat. We're the harbingers of language. Why is it that they can't mention Egypt without mentioning the nation of Israel? Why is it that they can't mention the nation of Israel without mentioning Egypt, without mentioning Ethiopia, Punt, Ham, Libya, Cilicia, Cyrene? Why? Because that's all the places we lived. And if we're the people who lived there, and you know the history, then who do you need to be going to learn the language? And hence, how do you now need to look in and look at this book to know what's in there? By culture, by language, by history, by phenotype, by all things that are done by Israelites throughout history. How are you going to find that? Europeans. Nothing that the white Europeans do looks like what's in the Bible. Nothing. They can try all they want. They just can't be it. They can't. They may master some of it, but they cannot accept it. Their culture cannot master it. Japan and China are two different places. So is America and Canada. That's why they got different names. Jamaica and Costa Rica. Jamaica do some things that Costa Rica don't know nothing. That's why names are so important, because each nation has a spirit. Now, I listened years ago when the our brothers, Black Hebrew Israelites, started making fun of Africans, calling Africans smelly and this and that. And they just forgot that they lived in Africa for 1400 years. And you cannot show me any history in that 1400 years if you say you're not African, where they were oppressing you. You can't show me. If you show me, you're going to dig more trouble for yourself. So you can't show me. Whichever way you look at it, you just can't show me nothing. So you survived 1400 years in a place, living with strangers, and then you turn around and say they sold you into slavery. They took their time, didn't they? Why they wait 1400 years when the Arabs are only up the road? It's insane. They didn't sell you into slavery. Israel's been selling Israel into slavery. Nobody else can sell us into slavery. Only us can sell ourselves into slavery. I mean, who sold Joseph into slavery? It's his own brothers, right? Yeah, they bought him. The Ishmaelites bought him. But it's the Israelites who sold him to them, right? On each other. Yeah, people will buy us and then treat us bad and then resell us. So they're selling us, but only we start it off. You're in America right now, right? Well, who are the ones selling black neighborhoods? And the Israelites? The uncles who head the organizations, the NAACP, the this and that, Negro this, Negro that. They're the ones who sell us out. It's the same in Africa. It's the same actually virtually in every country of the earth. The Chinese who deal badly with the Chinese. It's the English who deal badly with the English. I mean, it's the English who sent some of their children into Australia, right? Prisoners to colonize Australia, right? Well, they didn't want them anymore in England, so pushed them out to Australia. They went on slave ships, actually, some of them. Yeah, check the history. These are people too down there. We're moving into section 5, I believe, now. Section 5 is a little list I have here. It's a huge topic. I don't know how we ever gonna finish this thing. This section deals with why. See, when you don't know the why, you can't know the how of a thing. When you don't even know that somebody wants to do something wrong to you, you can't tell when they start doing it. Because you just believe our brethren in America, they just love you. I mean, I can't see whenever we've loved ourselves that much, that we've gathered so much together, when we know on the earth only lies actually make a congregation work. Be it Islam, be it Christianity. Ain't no different with this Hebrew Israelitism. We are Hebrew Israelites, but we're trying to bring clarity on what deception is and what truth is. So we're not saying there are no Hebrew Israelites. We're saying the one you've bought into is a fully blown lie, just like AIDS and Ebola are fully blown lies. It's a lie you're in. Why? Because they've made you to start being a Hebrew Israelite on their own terms. There's no truth inside. From the first page of to the last page, there is no truth inside everything they've taught you. It's amazing. They've taught you they don't know the name for sure of the Creator. So every different camp's got its own different name. Well, I thought if the spirit of the Creator was working, they should have just one name, right? All of them, right? They should all have one name if the spirit of the Creator actually woke them up. It should just be just one name, but some people got Yahoo, some people got Yahuwah, some people got Ahaya, which I've used before. It just goes on and on and on. And then some camps just say, we don't know his name, we don't care. Because when he returns, he's going to bring us a new name. Oh, really? So I will pray then when he says, there's only one name given to man under heaven, by which man must be saved. So how are we going to be saved when that scripture can't be fulfilled? When Christ himself said, I have revealed thy name unto the people you gave me. I'm going to do it again. And he did it right there and then. But you can't see that. Why can you not see the? Because you're following the wrong Hebrew language. You cannot see Iye, She Iye, where Christ spoke it. You can't see it. Look, even now you can look, you still won't see it. Yeah, I'm bringing this out. I think, if I'm correct, I think if I'm correct, without trying to sound arrogant, but we're making a claim here. A claim why? For truth, not for ego. This name, you have not heard it before now or before this mouth speaking it. Because I'm smart or anything. It's because it's just given. It's given. So the name of our creator is in the beginning of the book. We've broken down some of it on our YouTube channel. You can check it. Yeah, share it. The name of our creator. But that's just the English part of it. We're now going to go into ancient Hebrew languages. Not only one, because look, the book does say, in the mouth of two or three witnesses is a matter established, right? Must be my language, my Hebrew language, which is Yoruba, by the way. So for all my Yoruba family outside, àlàáfíà sí yín o. Àṣé kí ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run ìyè tá à ń wí kó bá yín rere, kó bá yín lálàáfíà. Kómi sùúrù rẹ̀ ká bù mu nínú ẹ̀. Ká lè rótọ́ lọ́nà. Ikú tá a ti kú yìí ó ti tó. Irọ́ tó ń pa wá yìí ó ti tó. Àwọn ọmọ wa tó ń dànù. Àwọn ọmọ wa tí ò ríbi gbà. Tá a pe Ọlọ́run títí. Tó jẹ́ pé èṣù ló ń dá wa lóhùn gbogbo ìgbà. Àdẹ̀lọ́lọ́run là ń sìn. Àlọ́lọ́run là ń sìn. A pè títí. Àwọn èèyàn tiẹ̀ lè wa mọ́tò dé church gan. Bí ìlú ṣe dàrú tó, làwọn ọmọ wa náà ṣe dàrú tó, kò síṣẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ló lè pọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ, aṣẹ́wó wá sùn lọ. Bẹ́ẹ̀ la dẹ̀ ń lọ church, tá à ń lọ mọ́ṣáláṣí. Bá a ṣe ń pe Jésù là ń pe Mohammed, là ń pe Allah. Ó ti tó. Brothers, sisters, you need to learn these languages. I just spoke some Yoruba to the Yoruba Hebrew Israelites. I need more brothers of the African Hebrew Israelites. They know themselves now. We're coming with this perspective on truth. We need to sit down together and lift our people up with true languages, with true culture, true history, true lineages, true spirit. We've walked all over the earth. We still are. Deuteronomy 28 is still going on, only with Africans. Only with Africans. We're gonna do that, and it's gonna be a separate time. If those curses fit anyone, it's the Africans and the Asians. It's only us. There's wars now going on in Afghanistan and Pakistan on our people. Poverty in India, disease, oppression, seclusion. The same in Africa. Third world countries, dark-skinned people's nations. Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, Bangladesh. We've cried upon all the gods of all the nations. Are we getting delivered? No. Are we getting delivered? No. Now, we move on to section 6, I think. Our brothers who have been teaching us lies. Excuse me. Cool. Wow. Hot.
Overheat.
Yeah. Anyway, let's continue live here. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Just trying to get the camera sorted out again. Now, our brothers who started or who continued in this maybe final phase of Hebrew Israelite deception, hide. We're exposing it now. We're explaining it now. Hebrew Israelite deception explained. Hide. Hebrew Israelite deception. Hid. That's the acronym. Now, our brothers who perpetuating this lie, I think there's a saying in law. How does it go in Latin? Who stands to profit from the thing? If we can see where people are profiting from the thing, then we can check motive. We can check. When we see motive, then we can check who's behind the motive. Usually you'll find a trail of money. Follow the money. Now, if we're Israelites in the Americas, the first thing you would want to do is get out of there. If you're a real Israelite, you would just want to get out anyway. That's what we did in Egypt. We just wanted to get out, right? Oh, well, the Creator told us to get out. Those of us who would listen, don't go back into Egypt, he said. I don't want you trusting in Egypt. I want you trusting in me. So anyway, we listened, followed Moses, and went out of Egypt so we could go serve him, serve life, because we'd been serving death in Egypt. We'd been dying. They tried to murder all of us, murder the children before they were even born. Moses, he rose up and slew them for us. Just to what? Isn't it the same thing going on the whole world right now with black? The same thing, they're still chasing us all around. Just want to stop us anyway. So, but what do our brothers in the Americas stand to gain? Nation of Islam. Why don't they move back to Africa if that's where home is? If that's where home was, I would like to go back home, wherever home is. If I can just say, this is where home is, I'm gonna go. White Americans like to come back home. White Chinese like to go back home. White Japanese just want to go home. The white English want to go back home. The white Germans, the white Polish. Even the white Jews, they wanted to go back home. So they got that Palestine place. It shows you that you should be yearning to go back home. But you can't go back to that land. That's not where you left from, is it? You're telling me you spent 1,400 years in a place and you can't resettle into the place anymore. 1,400 years. Tell me one thing. Was there any time in that 1,400 years that we tried to go back to the land? Because it was empty. Don't forget it was empty before the people there now moved back there in 1940s, right? Well, what were we doing? Since we ran out of there, why we just run back into it? Why didn't we? I tell you why. Because we were satisfied in that new found land we called Africa. Israel, technically, is in Africa. Geographically, it's in Africa. It's part of the landmass. That's why our people always used to just walk into Egypt. They just walked in, like strolled in. Like you would stroll from America into Canada. Especially if you live close to the border, right? Stroll into Mexico. That's how close it was. That's how close it is. So Canada, they just put that border there. But guess what? If they remove that border tomorrow and they tell you this is America, you 5 minutes to say, okay, fair enough. If they join Mexico to the same thing and told you this is America right now, And it could be, couldn't it? It could easily well be. Let's have a look again. We're not lying. Look at that. United States, Canada, and Mexico. You can make them one country. Well, actually, it's in the plans, isn't it? Yeah, we know about that one. It's in the plans to make that whole place one. So Egypt and Israel are just the same country, geographically. Spiritually, they're not. Ancient Egypt, ancient Israel. Spiritually, they're not. But as per land mass, it's just the same land mass. But anyway, what's the agenda of the USA hide? What's their agenda? What is it running on? Guess what it is? It's running on white validation. Validation of the European system. It's similar to Farrakhan Nation of Islam. They remain in Babylon. Why you being held there? Who's there? Since you found out you were Hebrews. If anything at all, it's the last place we should want to be, right? Because we keep complaining these are the people who have enslaved us, right? It's the last place you want to be. You want to get out of there to go at least have some space. Well, if you were in 1400 years in America, in Africa, and a lot of our brethren are now returning to Africa and saying, man, you know what? It's the best place for a black person. I ain't seen no problems there. The only time you will face problems is when you start to bring your ignorance to dominate the people there. When you're humble and you know where your place is, you'll have no problem. It's the same for a Somali who comes to America and he knows where his place is, he'll be all right, won't he? Same for a Yoruba Nigerian who comes to America. If you know your place, you'll be all right. The same place for any white person who goes to Japan or China. If you know your place, you'll be all right. So what benefit is there for the USA Hebrew Israelites? What's their gain? How do we know they've got a game going on? Why remain in Babylon? You can't have a nation in somebody else's nation. It's impossible. So for them to allow you to be building a nation inside their nation and haven't cracked down on you, it shows me there must be some conspiring going on. Must be some handshakes going on. Some friendships up there. So now our brothers down in Ghana saying, yeah, Ghanaians are part of us. But like I said before, those of us in the diaspora are just the toenail of those at home in Africa. Africans are not all Hamites. To repeat, if some of you don't know that, Africa is huge. How many countries is that? 50 countries, or how many is that again? Africa is huge, right? Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 7, it's quite a lot of countries in there. Sorry, I don't know the number because it keeps changing every couple of weeks, and it's formed again. So I stopped counting. Sudan, South Sudan, Northern Nigeria, Biafra, Gambia and Senegambia, Ghana and Ivory Coast, the Gold Coast, and so on and so forth. Ethiopia and Eritrea, Somalia and Kenya. They just keep dividing it, putting borders around it. Now, what do our people stand to gain again? Everything they're doing as Hebrew Israelites is more Caucasoid than Negrosoid. I mean, everything Hebrew Israelites are doing in America, they talk, they mean, things they talk about, things they say. It's more like a white person is saying it. Africans stink. You Africans are Hamites. They don't even care to say which country. This is just Africans stink. So they're coming from a place of ignorance and hatred. hatred for their own salvation. Because Messiah is an African. We're going to prove it. We won't just say, we'll prove it. African is just a name they slapped on us, like they slap a name on us everywhere we go. Well, if you're telling me that Hebrew Israelites are the people in Puerto Rico, well, that's another name they just called us over there, isn't it? So you're telling me if they called us African, it's any different to being called Jamaican, to being called Puerto Rico, Trinidad and Tobago and all the islands? You're telling me it's any different? Well, if you know who we are, why are we worrying about the word African? But the Willie Lynch syndrome had to come and play its last card and tell our own brothers to lie more to us by telling you, the ignorant ones, I say with this with all respect, that you're not African. Israelite. In fact, those Africans stink. Because guess what? The Africans are the salvation. Anybody remember that scripture that says the meek shall inherit the earth? Well, who are the meek right now on the earth? Tell you what, there's blacks everywhere on the earth, and we're hated by all nations put together. We're the most hated group of people, Black Africa. That's a fact. We ain't preaching hate, we're just telling facts. We can pull the documents, okay? You can pull the documents. United Nations, UNESCO, World Health Organization, IMF. We can pull the documents and show we're the most hated. Hated don't mean someone coming to slap your face. It just means not serving you right. You know, like one of them days when you go inside a bar and you're standing at the bar and they just pretend they don't see you. And then a white girl comes in and they just serve her quick. And you're like, I was here first. And they're like, well, sorry, just wait, innit? That's hatred. They didn't slap your face. They didn't punch you. You feel like you're ready to die. That's what hatred is, okay? So the whole world have served the black people poorly, the poorest. That's why every black person wants to stop being black. Can't blame them. Because when you're in this skin, you get served less. It's hard. I remember a friend of mine in Eastern Europe, and she was wearing black. Like my brother's wearing black right now. And it was such a hot day, and she said, Ty, I shouldn't be wearing black because it makes you more hot. And I was like, really? She said, yeah, didn't you know? I said, how can I forget? I'm wearing it permanently. You can change that one. I said, now you know what it feels to be in a black skin. She was like, oh, Ty, you have to say that. I'm like, just being real. But the blacks of this earth, from Bangladesh to India to Rajasthan to Turkmenistan, to nations that I can't even, you know, fully just count all their names right now. Yes, also down to those South Americans where our people are, yes. Brazil, yeah, we know. We're not denying that. We're just saying 2868 Deuteronomy is not validation of Hebrew Israelites.